You're cruising along at 12,500 for 29 minutes. Can you descend down to 12,499 for a minute and then climb back up and reset that 30-minute clock so that you don't have to be supplied with and use oxygen? Now, I don't think Nate's asking because he actually wants to do it. I think it's just a disputed question that he wants to know the actual answer to. So, what I want to say though first is I did a ton of research on this, more than I'd like to admit. I looked at preambles, final rules. I went to the old regulation before that, which was 9132, and did the same thing. I looked at legal interpretations, which there really are none on. I tried to find any case law, which I couldn't. I looked at any FAA text, Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, the Flying Handbook, the Glider Flying Handbook, the Balloon Flying Handbook. I looked at brochures, anything I could possibly find from the FAA as a write-up on this, and there's not a whole lot surrounding this specific question. But I do want to pose the question this way and see if your opinion changes on the regulation a little bit. Let's say you start out a flight in that same airplane and you climb all the way to 13,000 feet for 20 minutes to avoid terrain or get above the clouds. After 20 minutes, you immediately descend down to 3,000 feet for the next 3.5 hours on that flight. So your oxygen levels all the way back to normal down at 3,000 feet. And for the next half hour, you want to climb back up to 13,000 feet for another 20 minutes to get a good tailwind to end out your flight. Could you do that? And does it make sense, or does it change your opinion a little bit? Now let's look at the regulation. The regulation says for that part of the flight at those altitudes that is of more than 30 minutes duration. Now the question is it a cumulative or is it a non-stop part of the flight? Usually when the FAA wants something to be clear and they want it to be cumulative, they will use the wording cumulative in the regulation. Duration means a beginning and an end point. If you look it up in the dictionary, it doesn't really mean cumulative use of. So technically, I think, Nate, you could do that, but hear me out here for a second, because I think you need to use common sense. You need to take into account the AIM, which recommends use of oxygen above 10,000 feet. You need to look at the FAA's studies of use of oxygen and effects of oxygen in the advisory circulars, and they talk about the normal healthy pilot below 12,000 feet is going to have no effect on you, but above 12,000, your oxygen starts to go down, and that's why they put a hard cap on 12.5 for more than 30 minutes. So I think we need to use common sense, and we need to also use aeronautical decision making. Remember, what's always legal sometimes on paper